CFSJ's inside the box. The workout's designed for tight times and tight spaces. All of our workouts are designed for a space approximately 8 foot by 10 foot. We should be able to get through all of these in about 25 to 45 minutes, depending on how you pause the videos and how much time you spend at each station. Follow along with us, pay attention. We're going to give you some insight as to how these workouts are actually supposed to be completed. So if you follow along with us, you will get better. All right, so if you have access to a rower or a bike, go ahead and use those. We're looking for about 2 minutes of warm-up, but for the rest of us, we're going to do 10 in-place burpees, just simply stepping back, starting light. Use this as a hip stretch as well. Let's go ahead and get jump at the top, slowly starting to build the heart rate up, just getting the blood flowing so that the muscles accommodate. And you're going to go ahead and give me 6 more on your own. Now that we've gotten the cardio out of the way, let's go ahead and focus on our 4 movements for our dynamic warm-up. Starting by opening up the hips with Samson stretch. Reminder, to get the most out of this hip stretch, keep that knee elevated off the ground. Next, also from a standing position, the active glute stretch. The idea is to start to feel the hamstring and the glute slightly stretch out. Don't worry about how far you go down, especially if you feel tension right away. Next, from a plank position, we're going to go for Spider-Man. The goal is to try to get the elbow to the instep of the foot. This is going to get the most out of that hip. But remember, it's a stretch. If your body won't allow you to go there, work on it over time. And last, the twisted cross. Great shoulder opener. Make sure that you're not putting too much pressure in these opening reps. Today's activation drills get us ready for our upcoming Olympic weightlifting development. We've got 3 exercises: the knee up ankle stretch, the jumping lunge, and the bird dog. For the knee up ankle rotation, bring the knee up to hip level under its own power. Work on balance on the off foot while turning the foot clockwise and counterclockwise for 10 reps. Next, we're going to go jumping lunge. Starting from the knee down, fast explosion up, catching yourself, soft landing on the way down, 5 each side. And last, our best core activity, the bird dog. Starting from tabletop of knees under hips, hands under shoulders, finding that neutral spine, kicking alternate foot and hand out to each opposing wall, 5 each side. Now we have 2 rounds of this. As always, you can rewind and follow along with Devin, or you can pause here and we'll meet you back in a couple of minutes. Today's strength focuses on the development of our Olympic weightlifting skills. While we may not have all of the equipment that we need or access to a lot of weights to make this challenging to our strength, we can work speed. So even if all you have is a broomstick or a dowel, we can train speed and consistency of these movements. We're going to start up by following Coach Devin with a standard snatch warm-up. We're going to start off with the snatch grip in 3 snatch deadlifts, keeping that chest high. Next, we're going to work into 3 snatch high pulls, making sure that this is the time to warm up those hips. Next, going all the way overhead without a redip, 3 muscle snatches. From that last muscle snatch, we'll go directly into 3 overhead squats. You will find that the overhead squat works better with a slightly wider stance. Returning back to your starting position with the bar behind your neck, we're going to go 3 snatch balance. Dropping quickly under the bar, going directly into 3 power snatches plus an overhead squat. And then finishing off down at the mid shin with 3 full snatches. Make sure that you're extending that hip before dropping under the bar, finishing off in a full squat. Now, if at any point during this you stumbled with technique, let's go ahead and take that block out, follow along with the video, and repeat. Let's try to do 1 full set, 3 of each of these movements with proficiency to really get us set for today's complex. Today's complex focuses on several movements to increase our proficiency at Olympic weightlifting. We're going to start with the hardest movement, the full snatch, going directly into a snatch balance, finishing with both a behind the neck snatch grip push press plus an overhead squat. What makes this a complex is we're going to try to accomplish all these movements before we set the bar down. This doesn't mean that it has to be done fast, but it does have to be done well. There are lots of places to rest the bar without pulling the bar down. Let's go ahead and watch Devin complete. Starting with the biggest movement, the snatch, from the ground, full hip extension, full squat, standing. As you feel comfortable, lowering the bar behind the neck, resetting that stance to starting position, and dropping into a snatch balance. Bringing that bar back down behind the neck, feet in starting position, snatch, grip, push press, and then finishing off in that overhead squat. Once all of those movements are done, go ahead and put the bar down and you have the remainder of 2.5 minutes to rest. We're going to do this complex 5 times every 2.5 minutes. It's enough time to really take some time on these movements. I would suggest doing so. Don't worry about adding weight, worry about hitting these marks and doing these reps proficiently. The point of performance that we're looking for is keeping the heels on the ground and keeping the chest up, making sure that the hips don't rise before the chest, and making sure that our shoulders are locked out. If we happen to only have a light implement like a dowel or a PVC pipe or a broomstick, go ahead and do 3 of each of these movements before moving on. So 3 snatches before moving to 3 snatch balance, and so on. Really work the speed on this. All right, now that we're prepped, let's go ahead and get our stuff set our timer to 2.5 minutes, and we're going to do this complex 5 times. Begin. Today's WOD, change-up, involves a straight-through chipper. It's just a 4-movement chipper of runs, single arm snatch, runs again, and single arm front rack lunges. However, it's meant to be fast. It's going to take you a lot longer than you think, but don't try to pace it. Let's start by reviewing the single arm dumbbell or kettlebell power snatch. This can be done either regular style or swing style, but both involve heavy hip execution. The arm should be light. As the hips drive up, you should feel that weight float, dropping slightly under, making sure that you're pressing up at the top. Especially if you're using a dumbbell, let's get that thumb pointed back, that shoulder blade retracted. Point of performance is making sure that the dumbbell head hits the ground each time and that your chest stays up, that you're not doing a pseudo Romanian deadlift each time. Moving on to the front rack lunge. Not a whole lot here except for keep the bell in a front rack position. Don't let it drift behind the shoulder. There are 40 of these and we're going to alternate each leg. Now let's talk about that 800-meter run, especially if you're in a place where you don't have access to a half a mile. There are a few things that you can do, but the easiest way to think about it is 800 meters converts to about 4 minutes of cardio. So if you want to mix it up today, a minute of jump rope, a minute of burpees, a minute of jumping jacks, and a minute of something else of your choice, let's go ahead and do so. Okay, Let's go ahead and get our timer set. This is 1 time through for time. Grab your playlist. You're probably going to want some ear pods, a little accompaniment if you do have that run. And again, 800-meter run followed into 40 single arm power snatches, alternating each rep, back into 1 more 800-meter run, and finishing off finally with 40 single arm front rack lunges. All right, now that we're set, let's get going. 3, 2, 1, go.